When you hear the words research project or research essay, research assignment, what is it that you hear? Many students, and I'm not meaning all students, but many students think it means completing an assignment for the class, and I get that. Getting a fantastic grade would certainly be the hope of many students. Yet in college, of course, it means pursuing an understanding about something we don't know everything about yet. And who would admit in our society to not knowing something about a subject? Not many. When you hear the words research project, what is it that you think about? To students, and I'll say not all students, but many students think it means completing the assignment for the class and getting a grade, following the steps. I get it. Oftentimes that will center on getting citations right or maybe including quotes. In college, it really should be pursuing an understanding about something we don't know everything about. And that's the ideal. It should be about discovery, especially of expertise and sources that are really experts on a subject. So really we have to even define our terms research project when understanding this. With students, they're worried about the quantity of the sources. College is really focused on the quality of the sources. I can have a student have 10 sources, but if they're all crummy sources, and by that I mean bad, just literally bad, and who says so? I do. If they have 10 bad sources, that doesn't help them all. They haven't really learned anything. Whereas if they have 1 or 2 good sources, that might be enough, actually. There's no magic number out there. Students might worry about how quick and easy it is to get those sources, whereas in college we think about good sources that take reading and thinking. They're not the quick ones that aren't even a paragraph long. There should be real contributions to knowledge on a subject, and not just the quickest and easiest thing that we search for. When students hear research or source, they think of the obvious conclusions. I even include Evite there because I had a student quoting Evite not knowing what it was. In it, it was the United States inviting France and Germany to war in Iraq. They didn't know what they were citing. They didn't know. That's a problem. When I deal with sources, I have to start up front and say sources have authors. The older word actually comes from authority. Nowadays, what does that mean? It's anybody who can put out a blog. We have some care with the word authority in college, and we really should. Not all authors are created equal, and most of my students would accede to that. Most of them would admit that some are better than others, just as they would admit that some teachers have more information than others. Oh dear. Sources have authors. When we say sources have authors, is Google a source? Not really, because what it does is aggregate a bunch of different authors. They don't even know most of them. Google's a search engine, and of course there's no authorship going into that. They're taking credit for other people's work. And why do we think that Google will be any less biased than anything else that we take a look at? Here's an article over on the right hand side. If you'd like, I can provide you the link with it. But there are many studies studying Google and its particular biases, and both the way that it's biased against certain corporations that it might dislike. It has logarithms designed to adjust or tailor fit commercial results in its results list for people, and other reasons. There are paid ads, of course, on Google. The search strings in Google will give you no better knowledge or quality sources. That's not what they're about. Sources still have authors. If we include Wikipedia here, here's Colbert actually talking about how he makes joke edits to Wikipedia to try and change them. And I just put a little passage about Jimbo Whale saying he gets about 10 email messages a week from students who complain that Wikipedia has gotten them into academic hot water. They say, please help me, I got an F on my paper because I cited Wikipedia and the information turned out to be wrong. But he says he has no sympathy for their plight, noting that he thinks to himself, for God's sake, you're in college, don't cite the encyclopedia. Notice the assumption he's working under. It's not changed since when I went to school, the idea that we ought to go further than encyclopedic knowledge, because oftentimes an encyclopedia will give us too superficial of an information, and in Wikipedia's case, biased information too. They're known to have an anti-academy bias, in other words, a bias against college study. They're edited more predominantly by men than women. There are lots of different biases associated with Wikipedia. Why is it that we're willing to do that? It's mostly because people want to take the shortest route, just like with Google. In the world of research, there are the show horses, the ones that get a lot of page edits, I suppose, or views. And then there are the workhorses, the people who actually do the work and the research. When you're dealing with sources of authors, and the better ones are the ones that work behind the scenes, the ones we don't hear the names of, the ones toiling away, sometimes in near anonymity, because they don't get the credit sometimes that they deserve. Usually for print sources still, and certainly for non-TV sources, the most glaring example of this is when the show horses interview the workhorses. They actually have the print sources, the old fuddy-duddy print sources actually on the news or providing the video content, and they're doing the interviewing. In conclusions, we don't have Google used as a source here. It really aggregates other sources, and Wikipedia's an encyclopedia. And when has that been allowed in real research? You can do better. Doesn't your thinking deserve it? Don't you want to find out about a topic, as the ideal is for a research paper? Don't you want to find out more? So this assignment has you justifying your source first. We'll be talking about your topic soon, but first let's talk about how we learn about that topic. That seems to make sense to me. Why do we think we can talk about a topic before we've learned about it, and learned about it from good sources? If you knew it all already, why did you choose it as a topic for research? Think about the following sentences for class and we'll evaluate them. Which of the following sentences from student papers is inductive, judging based on the facts? Take a close look at them. This source has a reputation for. Everybody knows that this website, or what I find here, is. Inductive logic is what we're privileging for use of sources for this assignment and for research more generally. Which one of these statements is inductive? When you're doing your work with sources, don't get stymied about citation without checking with me. If you've gone through the video, gone through the explanation in class, and thought you understood citation, but then have a question, come and check with me. One of the logical conclusions that you can reach here about citation is it's done for a reason. Why do we cite anything? Usually to give credit where credit is due, a kind of golden rule for academics. To build our own authority, to show readers where they can see this info. So often students will focus on the source as biased or on the bibliographic information that needs to be provided with the citation of the source, and yet there are other things that we need to deal with.